As a child, we all long for a hero. As a society as a whole, we search for that leader that can be our hero. But as we mature and as we grow, it dawned on us that the hero is inside every one of us. And in the world's social media, we all start at zero. And slowly we search deep within ourselves to find who we are. And we have that moment of truth where we embrace that the hero that we've been searching for has been there all along. It is living deep inside of every one of us. And we start embracing that journey and we become that hero that we search for.
Hey everybody, good morning and welcome to episode 76 of Zero to Hero. We've got a truly awesome guest coming at you today. He's a true hero in every sense of the word as far as impacting young people's lives that don't have both parents. His name is Micheal Lawrence. He is the CEO of Big Brothers Big Sisters. Let's go ahead and bring him in. Micheal, how are you today?
Hey, I'm doing great. We've got our national conference coming up next week where Big Brothers Big Sisters agencies from across the country are all coming together to celebrate the good that we're doing across America. And we're excited to go talk about what's happening in Kansas City.
That is wonderful. So what is going on with Big Brothers Big Sisters here in Kansas City?
You know, we just continue to make these incredible life-changing friendships. We bring the right people together and surround them with support. We've already had nearly 300 new families get involved with Big Brothers Big Sisters this year.
Wow.
And we can continue to support more than 1,000 right here in Kansas City. So, you know, we're in the friendship creation business and it's going great.
Absolutely, and I love how you put it. It is a friendship, right? But it's so much more that goes into that friendship. And I've even heard stories of once they're kind of out of the program, right? Those friendships and that mentorship really carries on, and it really is a lifelong kind of bond there. So talk a little bit about how you guys are creating that and how we're stretching that out past when they're in Big Brothers Big Sisters.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll start by just kind of sharing my own little brother, Jesse. Jesse was in second grade when we first met. He's now 23 years old, and we were
Wow.
just connecting last weekend. And yeah, we could talk about how it all works, but really, it truly is about putting the right people together, surrounding them with support, keeping that true friendship that we create that wouldn't naturally exist, keeping that together as long as possible because we know good things will come from it. So yeah, we so many times hear that it's maybe starts out feeling like you're in a program, but it quickly becomes real. And just like any other very meaningful friendship in your life or someone who means a lot to you, you know, it becomes part of what you do and what you care about, what's important to you.
Absolutely, yeah. So and you guys do go in depth as far as your matches, from what I've seen, right? So it's not just if I were to come into Big Brothers Big Sisters today, they're not going to say, "Hey, here's your little," right? There's quite a bit of a process that goes into that, making sure that you are making those matches, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Big Brothers Big Sisters is the gold standard for child safety and for getting to know our people and providing great support. So yeah, we spend a great deal of time with our children and families as a parent or a guardian reaches out to us and asks us, to be a part of their family. We go into the home and we interview the child and the parent, the guardian, and we want to find out what's the story, what's the background, what's their experience, what are they looking for, what's their personality and interest, and it's a very in-depth understanding of that family and the child and how we can help. We do the same with our volunteers, right? We really want to get to know our big brothers and big sisters and find out what's their background and experience and talent and interest. How can they help? And then our team professionally creates a match. It's something we've been doing for 120 years. And so we've have a process to put the right two people together, but all along the way, that volunteer, the big and the parent and the child are working together to say, yes, this is the right fit. So yeah, you simplify it. We're professional matchmakers and have been for 120 years.
It's almost like the original dating service, but obviously we're
Yeah.
not dating littles and bigs, right? It's
Yeah.
in-depth matchmaking, which is amazing, right? I mean, you obviously if you put those matches together and it's not a match, we've got kind of a bad taste. So it's extremely important, right,
Yeah.
to get that right the first time. So thank you for everything that you do at Big Brothers Big Sisters. But I want to get into kind of the meat of the show here. So not really talking as much about Big Brothers Big Sisters. I know that's a huge part of you and who you are, but outside of that, who is Micheal Lawrence? Give us your elevator pitch about you.
Yeah, well, I can't tell you who I am without talking about Big Brothers Big Sisters because it is such a big part of my life. But
Yeah.
I'll tell you the story. Let me tell you how I was introduced to the mission,
Yeah.
and then my journey to today, and then I'll tell you about what's important in my life. So I grew up in a small rural town of Butler, Missouri, about an hour south of Kansas City. Um, I was the first in my family to go to college. I was encouraged by teachers and coaches. So I went to William Jewell College on a football scholarship. William Jewell's here in the Kansas City metro area. Went there on a football scholarship and got a psychology degree. And Gino, I knew early on, like second semester, I wanted to work with kids. I took these, psychology classes. And like this is my thing. That's what I want to do. So got my degree psychology, and my first job out of college, I served as a runaway counselor. So I worked with young people who are running away from home. So it was a state-based program in Kansas. We would interview the young people and determine whether to send them back home with a lot of help and support, or in tough situations, take children away from their family, place them into state custody, and find living arrangements for them until they're old enough to be on their own. So I did that for 2 years, became the director of the program, and it was hard.
Yeah.
It was sad, and many times it was frustrating because it was a state-based program, so no room for innovation or flexibility. We followed the rules of the state, even if we didn't think that was the best solution. So I was a little disheartened with my experience, but I sat down one Saturday afternoon with a 13-year-old boy who I'd interviewed the night before, and he was in a bad spot. But when I said to him, "Look, you may never see your family again," he said, "Can I still see my big brother?" And I had interviewed him and knew he was not talking about his siblings. He was talking about his big brother through Big Brothers Big Sisters. And man, I thought that was powerful.
Yeah.
Every time I retell the story, I think about that moment, how for a 13-year-old in a moment of crisis and chaos and change, he only truly cared about a volunteer. And I didn't know that a volunteer experience could be that powerful. So I watched this big brother come see this boy the next few weekends, and I was just moved. I'm like, all right, I have to be a part of this mission. I had two small kids at home. Probably wasn't the right time, but I was just drawn to it. So I started doing my research about becoming a big, and found out there was an entry level position open at Big Brothers Big Sisters Kansas City. So I applied for the position, and now 31 years later, I serve as the CEO, and I've grown up
Wow.
here, and this is where I've been for 31 years. So I started out working with our children and families, taking my background in psychology and my previous experience, and that was my role, was interviewing the young people and the adults, making matches and coaching them, providing advice and guidance. And that was awesome, right? It was a direct experience working straight with our families. But after 5 years, our previous director approached me and asked if I would consider moving into the fundraising department because I was always volunteering to help with fundraising events. So I was a little reluctant. That wasn't my background, but had the instincts, had a passion for it, and I took that role. So I moved into fundraising and led all of our fundraising for the next decade. While also doing fundraising, I was asked to lead our largest team working with our children and families. So that was my first chance to lead people. So I got that experience. Then there were 2 different summers where we didn't have a marketing director. So I was running events, managing our program, and doing all marketing. So that gave
Jeez.
me a lot of experience, right?
I bet. Yeah.
And then the cool part, I met my wife here.
You're kidding.
My wife was our finance director. So now I had this finance experience, right? And this inside look at how it all works. And so that prepared me when our previous director retired to step into the role of CEO. So I've been the CEO of Big Brothers Big Sisters Kansas City for 16 years, and man, I love it here. And it's so different than my first experience because we do apply common sense. We embrace innovation. We do whatever makes sense for every child, every match, every family we support, our culture, our people, our fundraising model, our branding, our marketing. We do what makes sense, and we strive to stay fresh and relevant and appealing to Kansas City's young people, families, and volunteers.
And that's awesome. And that actually leads right into my next question and really about how technology has helped you, right? So social media, obviously 120 years ago when Big Brothers Big Sisters was invented, right? The internet didn't exist, social media didn't exist, right? I don't know how they were getting the word out. It was probably a lot of word of mouth and a lot of local touch there. But talk a little bit about the social media journey that Big Brothers and Big Sisters is on and really how it's helped you guys.
Yeah, I'll go back a bit to a decision we made here that it's crazy. It's been so long now, but at the time it was bold. Like people talking about, man, that's really bold. So it was 2008, and we made a decision to stop printing. Right, so we stopped printing newsletters and invitations, and we said to communicate with Big Brothers Big Sisters Kansas City, you have to be connected to us, and we're going to do it digitally. So we transitioned everyone to follow us, right? At first, it was through email, and we had an opt-in database of about 100,000 people who have agreed to follow what we do. Wow. So we started that, years ago, 15 years ago, when we were out ahead of everyone. And here in Kansas City, we were the very first nonprofit in America to use texting to become a big or to volunteer. So we were the first in, to have text. And what was interesting about that, Gino, it was an effort to market to a young audience. So it wasn't even really about the ease of texting. It was this, we stamped everything we produced with text to get involved. And when that was new and fresh, people thought, okay, this organization is doing something new and they're appealing to me, not my parents, So yeah, that was kind of the kickoff to it. And then social media became a big part of our life. When I'll tell a bit of a backstory. We worked with a company called Herdat Social Media. They were early on. They managed social media for 50 US companies and volunteered their services to help us build our entire social media platform and taught us the value of analytics. So we were really disciplined in looking at everything we posted. And this is, again, going back to the early days of 08, 09, 10. And we would look at everything we posted and say, what's getting engagement? Let's do more of that. Let's keep testing. Who's responding to photo versus video versus text, and how many times can you ask somebody to support your mission versus sharing what we're doing or just awesome stories. So that really helped us establish ourselves early. And now social media is just a huge part of what we do. We added someone full-time to the team before anyone else was doing that, just to make sure that we stood out and we're, again, staying relevant and communicating effectively. It allowed us to be nimble and responsive, and just to motivate and engage with an audience, and then kind of activate that audience to support the mission.
Absolutely, and you guys are doing a great job at it. It's something that I think a lot of nonprofits kind of put to the wayside quite a bit. You guys see it as a free avenue, right? I mean, other than employing the person that's running it for you, we can throw all the stuff that we want on there and it's there forever, right? It's not the piece of paper newsletter that ends up in the recycling bin, after it's read, or that brochure, right? It's always there. And I love that you guys are paying attention to what works, right? I mean, I'm sure you've seen, well, I want to hear it out of your words. How has, what people care about change since you started doing this to what people are paying attention to now?
Yeah, having a mission that's about positivity and human connection is always going to gain attention. People are always looking for a good story, something that feels good. I would say, especially in the last 3 years, going through pandemic and moments of isolation, everyone immediately thought about the basics of food and shelter. Everyone, right? As you should. But, 45 days in, 60 days in, people were longing for that human connection.
Yeah.
And that's what we do, right? So for us to put these stories out of just these remarkable friendships that we created and how meaningful and powerful that is, people were very interested in what we do, as a mission of making that human connection and bringing people together. So that's still, the most engagement comes when we just share a story of good, positivity, success. When our young people who, maybe again, like my little brother, maybe second, third grade when they met us, now they're running their own company, right?
That's awesome.
Or they're a big, and they share the story when they met. They're big for the first time. Now they're meeting their little for the first time. We get a lot of wedding photos where the little is in the wedding, right?
That's
And then years later, the big is in the little's wedding, right? So then
that's
you have
cool.
these photos of this, generational impact and change,
Yeah.
and that's fun to put out there. And you asked a question earlier about me. I love this mission and this opportunity so much that it's my entire my life is just revolves around it because of the connection and the positivity and being surrounded by people who want to be here. It's a unique opportunity in any profession, but in this, in the social service world, or where we're doing good, that everybody wants to be here. Our parents and guardians reach out to us and invite us to be a part of their family. Our little brothers and little sisters want to have a big. Our bigs, our big brothers, big sisters want to be a big. Our staff wants to work here. Our board wants to support us. The community wants to support us. So that's pretty easy to get behind, and it's just created this network in Kansas City of amazing people.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's an awesome thing that you guys are doing. Obviously, you know that. Now, I think you might have already answered this next question a little bit earlier, but I want to ask you to really lay it out there. And if this is the right moment, every superhero, in their origin story has that defining moment. What do you think yours is when it comes to your life and your career?
Yeah, again, I grew up in a small rural town, and my dad worked at General Motors, which is in Kansas City, Kansas, right? So he drove 75 miles one way
Wow.
to work and back for 40 years with the same
Wow.
job, right? Because he wanted to live in a small rural town, but wanted to, consistent, good, solid job. And he was willing to make that sacrifice. And he worked at the same spot for 40 years. And so,
Wow.
so there was some inspiration there of, when you know what you want, go for it. And then if it's a good fit and a good experience, make it your long term. So yeah, a little bit of honor to my dad for just being a long term, consistent, reliable, dependable person. But man, I tell you, there was something about you know when I started studying psychology and learning about young people, just seeing that opportunity to defend potential, right? To make sure a young person has everything they could possibly get to be successful. So then, just watching for the people who do good like that. I've had some remarkable mentors in my life that share that same passion. So I've been surrounded by really, really good people.
Yeah, and we've got a ton of them here in the city. Obviously, mutual friends of ours as well that we know do the same thing. So, yeah, it's a great network here, and very proud to be from the city that really does care. I mean,
Yeah,
I've lived in California, and it's not the same feeling, of that community and people truly caring. So we are very fortunate to be where we're from for sure. Uh,
yeah.
Now, Michael, all heroes have attributes that kind of make up who they are. What do you feel are the attributes that really define a hero?
Oh man, yeah, somebody who's just constantly looking for an opportunity to have an impact, right?
That's a good
Not
one.
not just waiting for it to arrive in front of you, but looking to say, hey, how could this be done differently? Someone who's willing to be the first one out there, and kind of, lead the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, living intentionally and getting out there quick. I love it. Those are great ones. Now, last question for you. If you had to pick any superhero that's out there that relates best to Micheal Lawrence, who would that be? And tell us a couple reasons why.
Oh man. All right. You're not going to like the answer to that. I don't watch a lot of superhero films and movies, right? I mean, I certainly grew up with them, no doubt about it. But maybe I go way back to the Underdog days, right? If you remember Underdog, the flying dog who was always out flying around and looking for who he could help,
I
you
love
know,
it.
and would find people in distress and fly in and save the day. So
I
yeah,
love that.
I'm a big fan of the Underdog.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I mean, that's exactly what you're doing out there, looking for the kiddos in trouble, man. That's so awesome. Well, Micheal, thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm a huge supporter of your guys' mission. I love what you guys are doing. Thank you for coming and sharing. How can people get involved with Big Brothers Big Sisters, and maybe talk a little bit about that process? I think, and maybe from the little side as well, right? But I think more importantly from the big side, how can they get in there? What's it like when they get in there, and what can they expect?
Yeah, we know that if you have any familiarity with Big Brothers Big Sisters, you probably thought about it. Probably thought about, can I do this? What's this really going to be like? And we're always looking for that perfect moment when someone's like, okay, it's time to learn more. So what we ask is people just to come learn more, right? You can learn a lot on our website. There's a lot of stories and testimonials and impact that's happened. But the best way is to come to one of our information sessions where uh, others who are interested and want to learn more come together, and we'll just spend time talking about the experience, what's expected, how we coach and support every single match we make. And that's probably the important thing. We talk about how we make a match, but that's the beginning. We come in and surround every match we make, the child, the family, the parent, the guardian, with coaches who are there the whole time that they're matched together to give advice, direction, activity ideas, Chiefs tickets, Royals tickets, whatever it might be, to keep that match going. So we say, come learn, just come learn more. And if you're inspired, you'll jump in. For our parents and guardians out there, man, it's remarkable to hear the stories of how having a big brother or big sister for a guardian's son or daughter is outstanding for the little brother, little sister, but also helps the whole family. The whole family gets support from our agency, from the bigs themselves, and even if it's only matched, maybe a year, 2.5, 3 years, that can change a family forever. Just when the moment is right to be surrounded by people who are there for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to go ahead and shout out all your other platforms here as well. Guys, if you want to check out these stories, right? The littles being in weddings and then being in the bigs weddings and all that kind of stuff, it's all out there. It's on their social media. So you can check out their Facebook, BBBSKC, the Instagram, also BBBSKC, and then their YouTube channel, all BBBSKC. So get out there, check them out. If you've got any interest at all of ever possibly being a big, just go out there and meet somebody, see what it's all about, check it out. Micheal, thank you again for coming on the show. It's a true pleasure.
Thank you, Gino. Appreciate it.
Hey, are we still live? Hey guys, we're still live. Hey guys, this is Kevin Kwok, founder of J29 Creative Group. So who are we? We're a marketing agency here in Kansas City. We're all about a holistic approach to marketing that builds your brand and nurtures online community. But to be honest with you, you guys don't care.